Hello kids. In the last class I was discussing about the conservation of forest, as we all know that how to conserve the forest and what are the measures we can take to save the forest and all. So we have come to an end of the chapter. Today we are going to discuss about the exercise part of your science, that forest lesson. Now so let's have a quick glance about what and all we have discussed, what and all we have learnt in this chapter. So in the first forest definition we have learned, and importance of forest, why do we need forest, and what's the purpose of forest, why do we need to save the forest. Okay, then what are the types of plants and trees which has grown in the forest. Okay, how many types of forests we have, and layers in the forest is a crown, under that we have a canopy, undergrowth and forest road. These are the three layers of forest we have, and living community of forest. Under that we have discussed about consumers, producers and decomposers, and saprotropes also we have discussed. What are the uses of all these three? It is acting like a food chain. Okay, we have discussed. And what is the interdependence of plants and animals, how how the animals are going to depend on plants for the food and shelter, and how the plant is going to depend on animals for their growth, we have discussed. Okay, and how, due to which, because of these plants and animals, how the oxygen and the carbon dioxide levels are balanced in the nature. If it is not balanced, so what is the consequence of this, and we have discussed. And at the last we have discussed about the conservation of forest, as I discussed about how to conserve the forest, what are the causes of deforestation, what is afforestation, and what are the consequences of deforestation, and how can we prevent this, what is soil erosion. All these things we have discussed. Okay, so next we have come to the end of the chapter. Today let us discuss about few question answer part. Okay, from this chapter. So here I'll be giving the notes. Okay, once I give the notes, you try to write, you please write down in your class work without leaving anything. Whatever we suggest, you please follow that, follow our instructions. Okay, and in your exercise, that in the forest our lifeline. So here we have the question, explain how animals dwelling in the forest help it grow and regenerate. How the animals are helping, you can say that consumers and decomposers and saprotropes, how they are helping. So these microorganisms, once they feed on dead animals and plants, what they divide that they complex molecule into a simpler ones. They cut down the complex molecules into a simpler one, so that they can able to mix up with the soil, and finally it will become like a manure or a fertilizer to the plants. It acts like a fertilizer. We call it as a humus, as we have discussed. Okay, and also these animals they help to maintain the oxygen level and carbon dioxide level in the atmosphere, we have discussed. Animals also help in pollination, which helps in growth of number of plants. Okay, herbivores helps the carnivores to grow, and they serve as food for them, and thus flora and fauna mutually grow in the forest, we have discussed. So, and the next thing is explain how forests prevent floods. We know that forests can absorb lot of water. The roots of the trees absorb the water and prevent it from flowing away. Roots of trees also help in proclination of water into the soil. This helps in preventing floods, and also due to which we can underwater table can also, water table level is also increasing. And what are decomposers? Name any two of them. Decomposers are nothing but organs which they feed on dead bodies of plants and animals. They clean the forest, decaying dead bodies and replenishing the nutrients back to the forest. Example like beetles, grubs, you can say earthworms, you can see. Okay, and fungi also. Next, mushrooms also you can say. And explain the role of forest in maintaining the balance between oxygen and carbon dioxide. So as we discussed through a diagram, like plants releases the oxygen through photosynthesis. So these animals, they inhale the oxygen and they give out carbon dioxide to the atmosphere in the process of respiration, and again this can be taken back by the plants. So this is how this cycle will be moving on. Next, explain why there is no waste in the forest. There is no waste in the forest because decomposers convert all the dead bodies, okay, of the plants and animals into nutrients, so that anyhow nutrients are very rich with nutrients means we call them as a fertilizer to the plants. Anyhow, these are the nutrients which is helpful for the growth of plants. So list 5 products we get from forest. So we get what medicines from the forest, we get firewood, we can get timber for the construction of buildings and houses, and also it is alive, it gives a shelter for so many birds, animals and insects, and also the tribes can take a shelter, okay, they live in they live their livelihood in the forest, okay. And also you will get a number of you will get furniture, you will get a paper, and many other things you will be getting, okay. And you can write by your own whatever we have discussed in the last class. Yes, next is what? Here comes the fill in the blanks. So the insects, butterflies, honeybees and birds help flowering plants. So the answer is forest is a purifier of, and it is a pollination. So the first one is the insects, butterflies, honeybees and birds help flowering plants in pollination. A forest is a purifier of and water and air. Herbs from the layer in the forest lowest, okay. And the decaying leaves and animals droppings in a forest enrich the soil as humus. So now why should we worry about the conditions and issues related to the forest far from us? We should be worried about deforestation, as it would leads to floods, and it decreases the underground water table, and the global warming increases, and damage the forest directly and indirectly. It affects the humans also. If there is no forest, if there are no trees, what's going to happen? It's going to it is directly or indirectly, it is it is harming the human beings only. Yes, explain why there is a need of variety of animals and plants in a forest. All plants and animals sustain the forest life. Also CO2 and O2 cycle goes on due to animals and plants. Animals convert the dead and decaying matters into humus and increases the fertility of soil. Again the same answer. Yes. Now which of the following is not a forest product? Gum, plywood, sealing wax, kerosene. It's a kerosene. We don't get in the forest. Which of the following statement is not correct? Forest protect the soil from erosion. Plants and animals in a forest are not dependent on one another. Forest influence the climate and water cycle. Soil helps forests to grow and regenerate. The answer is second one. Plants and animals in a forest are not dependent on one another. Next is microorganisms acts upon the dead plants and animals. Sand, mushrooms, humus, food. It is humus. So this is all about the exercise part. Today I will be sending the notes of this chapter. It's a forest chapter. You please take down, and guidelines will be sent to your respective groups. You please read the guidelines and you write carefully. You read the question once or twice. You don't take help of anybody. You just whatever you have studied, recollect and write, okay. Whatever you write now, it should be neat and legible. So if you have any doubts, please contact the respective teachers. Thank you, children.